Hey everybody, movie reviewer next door here, and I'm back with another review. And this time, I saw The Mechanic from 2011. This is an action thriller film directed by Simon West, and it stars Jason Statham, Ben Foster, Donald Sutherland, and Tony Goldwyn. In this film, Arthur Bishop is a mechanic, an elite assassin with a strict code and a unique talent for cleanly eliminating targets. It's a job that requires professional perfection and total detachment, and Bishop is the best in the business. But when he is ordered to take out his mentor and close friend Harry, Bishop is anything but detached. So, what did I think of The Mechanic? Well, I've seen this film quite a few times. It's another one that I originally saw on Prime, and kind of just, excuse me, kind of just watched it, didn't really do reviews back then. And I've always thought this film was good, but I also felt that it was a bit disappointing, I guess. I still haven't seen the original Charles Bronson film. I think it's from 73, but it it's kind of a it's just kind of, I don't know. It kind of feels like they took the original premise, did a little bit of the premise, and then just kind of made an action movie, which is fine if I'm rating this as an action movie, which is what I am doing. I do think for the most part it succeeds in what it's trying to do, but also I guess I was a little bit disappointed because the original premise, I was expecting a bit more from that. But yeah, let me get to the cast. Um, Jason Statham plays Arthur Bishop. He is a mechanic, assassin. He is great in these types of roles. These are the roles he's born to play. Um, I always like seeing him in them. Um, Steve McKenna, or excuse me, Ben Foster plays Steve McKenna, the son of Harry McKenna, who was killed. Who Arthur basically takes under his wing and like realizes that he's lost in life and wants a partner. Ben Foster is an actor that I find very, very, very underused in films. He's been in a lot of other stuff. He was in Pandorum. He was in the original The Punisher, or The Punisher 2004, and I really like him in that film. Um, Hell or High Water, 310 to Yuma, um, Medieval, The Messenger. He's been in a ton of films, The Survivor, and I do need to watch more of his stuff, but I think he does both a great job with the dramatic part of this role because he has a lot of actually pretty emotional moments, and he does a great job with the action. And that's really what you want in an action hero, somebody who feels human and can also be a badass. Donald Sutherland plays Harry McKenna, a friend of Arthur's that he ends up having to kill. Donald Sutherland is here for Sutherland. Sorry, I'm slurring my words. Donald Sutherland's here for basically an extended cameo. Um, but I do think he does still does a good job, even though it's about 3 scenes that he has. Um, and Tony Goldwyn is basically our main villain. Dean Sanderson, he owns this whole hitman group. Um, Tony Goldwyn, I haven't really warmed up to fully yet. I haven't seen a lot of his stuff. I've seen the Belko Experiment. I remember thinking it was alright. Apparently he's in Plane. I just haven't seen enough of his stuff to really know if I like him. But he's okay in this at least. But yeah, like this film, there's not a ton to say about it though. That's the issue. I do own it on Blu-ray because I found it cheap. and I also own the sequel, which I'm going to check out because I do like this company, Millennium. Like I've said multiple times, they did the Has Fallen trilogy, Olympus, London, Angel, and soon to be Night Has Fallen, which I've liked all three of the films so far, at least. I thought London was the best one. But all of them are good films. Uh, they did the Expendables series, which is semi-recently done Expendables 4, which I've heard is terrible, but I don't know yet. I haven't seen it. Can't make an opinion. But they used to do kind of direct-to-video movies, and then around 2010-ish, they got the Expendables, and they were kind of launched, and then started doing a lot more higher-budget dramas, thrillers, action films, and I'm all for it. They've done a lot of really good stuff. The Mechanic Resurrection, Expendables, Has Fallen series, Endgame with Cuba Gooding Jr. I thought was pretty good. Blind Horizon with Val Kilmer I thought was good. Jolt, which I have up there on 4K Blu-ray from Germany because I really enjoyed that film and wanted to see the behind the scenes on it. Till Death with Megan Fox, which I think is Megan Fox's best role, best movie she was ever in. I can't name all of them off here, but I do think... Oh yeah, Survivor with Milla Jovovich, Stonehurst Asylum with Kate Beckinsale, which is one of my favorite films of all time. This company has really done a lot with themselves, and they're basically the modern day equivalent of Canon Films, or say PM Entertainment, where they might not have as much action as PM Entertainment films, most of them, but they do try to put the budget on the screen. And I think this is one of those films where they do put the budget on the screen. The budget for this film and the sequel is $40 million. Now, $40 million might sound like a lot to a lot of people. $40 million isn't that much when it comes to an action movie, or as much as people might think, especially with this cast, because at the time Jason Statham was super hot, so probably got a lot of money. But I do think that they made a very entertaining action movie. If you go into this just wanting that, then yes, you'll get that. The point where I feel a bit disappointed is in the mechanic aspect, where it's deaths done by accident. Yes, there's a couple in this film, and I remember there not being a ton in the second film either, but the second film almost strictly goes for nonstop action. And this one goes for more kind of building up to a climax, which I do think they do. I think the climax at the end is well worth the wait. I'm not saying this film is slow or anything, but it does kind of space things out deliberately, and at times that can get a bit annoying with action films where they have like barely anything going on and then they expect you to care at the end. Like you can have like amazing fireworks at the end of a boring ass movie, but in the long haul, it's still a boring ass movie, and you can't just say slow burn when it's just a movie that has nothing happening in it. Slow burn means that you're slowly ramping up the tension with something like Dragged Across Concrete or Edge of Darkness did very, very well. Amazingly, even in my case, because I love those movies. Those are in my top 20. But with this film, I do think they did that right because there are action scenes throughout. It does take a bit at the beginning to set up stuff, which I at least will give this film that. It does create an interesting character with Arthur Bishop and also with Steve McKenna, because both Jason Statham and Ben Foster are great actors. That's the issue with a lot of action stars nowadays. You either have somebody who can do the stunts, who can't act for shit, or you have someone who has charisma, who can't do the action scenes. And then you get a bunch of obvious stunt doubles. And that's what happens in a couple Liam Neeson films, which I do like Liam Neeson. But there are certain films that I think he's just not right for, where they have a 60-year-old going up against a bunch of 30-year-olds, and I don't think it's realistic. I think Liam Neeson should stick to thrillers instead of like all-out action movies, which I think he has done for the most part. Um, and the only misfire I remember as of recently is The Ice Road, which not much could have saved that movie. I don't think. I think that if it felt so rushed, but with this film, I do think that the money is on the screen for the most part. There's one slight thing that I'd like to critique though, and that is the CGI blood. And it is most apparent during the scene of them assassinating the Reverend, which if you've seen the film, you might know who I'm talking about. Because there are shot there whenever they shoot someone, the CGI blood just looks a bit off. It looks a bit too hard contrast compared to the background. Sometimes it looks a bit too dark, and sometimes it looks like it's straight up green screened out, like like Action Essentials FX. It looks really bad at many points. And I do wish that action films like this would go all practical when they have the budget, especially. Because there are lower budget films that I've seen that have had almost all practical effects. There was one called In the Shadow of the Lotus, which maybe the acting wasn't the best, but I think that movie was trying to be kind of a parody of Hong Kong action films with the bad dubbing and everything. If it wasn't, whatever, but that's what I thought. But in that film, you have clearly a low budget, you have clearly kind of handheld cam, and it looks like they're filming it with real film, which a movie like this was probably filmed digitally. So they're putting effort into what they're going for, and they also have some insane blood squibs in that film. It is an insanely violent film, and that's why I found a lot of fun in it. It felt like a throwback to Hong Kong action films. With movies like this, I find it kind of lazy, especially when you have CGI blood that looks this bad. Um, I can't think of other action films from this specific year off the top of my head, but I know that the CGI blood here just does not look good. Uh, and there's a lot of scenes where there's practical blood squibs, so I I don't know why you can't just like I know one of them is like there's multiple headshots. You can still use blood squibs to at least have the blood in the back of the head look all right, but they didn't. It just kind of throws me out of it at certain points, and I think that's part of what is up with this film. There's a lot of practical stuff. There's a shot of Jason Statham jumping off a bridge and catching a boat in order to get away from his first hit of the movie, which is a very impressive stunt actually performed by Jason Statham. That's what I like to see. There's some really interesting cinematography going on during some of the kills, like at the beginning under the water. It's almost like a horror movie, kind of like how this guy basically gets scared and then he's being choked underwater. It's very interesting, and there's even a bit of dark humor when the guards are looking down, and then Jason Statham starts moving his arms and legs as if he's actually swimming. I liked that. I wish the movie had more of that. But then it does kind of just evolve into a normal action movie, and I kind of wanted more of the setup and payoff. Like yeah, the villain gets what he deserves and all that, but it also just kind of feels like business as usual for an action film. And this director, Simon West, I do like this guy's work. The work of his that I've seen, I've really enjoyed for the most part. There's Con Air, which I think is a fantastic action movie, very intense, very fun. I don't care that John Cusack doesn't like the movie. John Cusack isn't that good an actor. Lara Croft Tomb Raider, I think, is a fantastic action movie. I think Angelina Jolie kills it, actually. She's perfect casting. Um, when a Stranger Calls, I remember enjoying more than the original. Wild Card, lot of fun action drama. Um, and Stratton with Dominic Cooper. I remember that being all right. I think that's my least favorite of his so far, but I do need to see more of his films. But I do think that he understands what people want in an action movie. They want entertainment. They don't want to be lectured. They don't want stupid, they don't want stupid, like, politics getting in the way. And they don't let it in this film. And I wish more films were like this. In that way, where they don't seem to be written with, like, oh, we put a female. Aren't you mad that we put a female instead of, oh, we put this actress in there because she's right for the job. It's more, how can we anger people? And it comes off very disingenuous in that way. Where here, they cast Jason Statham because he's simply the right man for the job. I don't think that, given this concept, it would work with an actress. Maybe there is one out there, but Gina Carano got blacklisted, which fucking sucks because I like her. But yeah, it's all about entertainment. And was I entertained by this film? Yes, I was. I remember being more entertained by the sequel, which I'm going to give another watch because fuck it, I'm not doing anything, am I? But yeah, I do think that there's a lot of impressive shit in this. The ending sequence. There's a lot of practical explosions and practical, like, just cars getting destroyed at the end, and even more at the end, there's a gas station that explodes, and a car that explodes, and a house that explodes. It's insane. This movie, and there's people online that are like, oh, it turns cheesy. It's an action movie. Also, cheesy is a stupid fucking word. It's just fun. Not everything has to have a label, it's just fun. That's what an action movie should be, and an action movie shouldn't be just depressing for the sake of being depressing. So yeah, I do enjoy this film. But I do also realize that it could have been improved in certain ways. Again, the CGI blood, and maybe, I don't know, maybe throw in an extra action scene in the middle somewhere. The pace is good for the most part, and it's not a long film. It's 93 minutes, but it is also one of those that feels like how people say, like, oh, it has less action, so it's an actual movie, which is one of the most dog shit opinions I've ever heard. When someone's like, oh, there's more talking and less action in the action movie, so it's more of an actual movie. Like, do you not understand how fucking stupid you sound? I hate to say it like that, but, like, people are really dumb on Letterboxd sometimes. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Mechanic from 2011. If you've seen the film, let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you have any recommendations, let me know as well. And Movie Reviewer Next Door